Yay, Kim, we did it. Isn't that exciting?
And thanks to all of those really patient people if they waited or joined again.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people waited, which is great. I'm so thankful for all you crunchy mamas who understand that we're so crunchy that we're not tech savvy at all.
I know, right? It's so sad.
We know a lot of things except for technology, but it's okay. We're here, and we're going to start.
I have no idea how that worked, Wanda, but we're here.
It worked, and we're here. Oh, it's so good to see you, Kim. Oh my gosh. Isn't it crazy that now everything is virtual and we need to not only do we have a lot on our shoulders as mamas, we also have to learn technology stuff.
I know. Honestly, I should have just brought my kids up here. They probably could have figured that out.
Right. Yeah. Our 3-year-olds, our 5-year-olds, they can do much more than we can. Well, let me introduce you. I think you can like talk about your certification.
Sure.
Kim is, Kimberly Shrewsberry, licensed. Well, let me tell you. Let you tell them your title because I am really bad with names.
Yes. No, it's fine. So, hi, I'm Kim Shrewsberry. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I counsel individuals and couples. So, in Knoxville.
But now online, right? Because everyone's kind of getting advice from you.
I am. I'm doing a lot of online sessions, and I will maybe slowly start to transition back as things start to open up. Just taking some extra precautions and making sure that we're all safe. So it's been okay though. It's been. That's right. It's
been okay. It's been sometimes a little crazy, sometimes not okay, which is okay too, right?
That's right. We're just kind of all in this weird state together. So hopefully people are kind of feeling that camaraderie, although I know it's a little difficult at times. So, and I get lots of questions about relationship things, which is understandable, right?
Yes, it is very. I'm trying to pin our title here so when people show up here, they know. I am just afraid of doing anything new here and then suddenly disappear. But anyway, so
I promise not to touch the screen. So
I promise to. I won't touch anything. So our title for this conversation today was tips for maintaining a healthy relationship during COVID-19. And we know as mamas that even if you're not a mama, even if you're home with your significant other and you have pets or you have work, everything is so stressful. And with kids, I think it just adds more because of the homeschooling we have to do now, and the dishes and eating all day. I don't know about your kids, but my kids are eating like every 5 minutes, it seems like. I just getting things done, and then your significant other has to work, you have to work too. And how do we share the responsibilities? How do we help each other, and how do we connect, right? Because I think the most difficult thing right now is connecting in a romantic way, because we're not in a very romantic vibe right now.
I know. I have to admit, this is the first time I've actually done my hair and put on makeup both consecutively. So yeah, there's a lot of that, and showered. So
so true.
It's a big day for me.
That's I'm not even showering sometimes, on the days that I have the live. Sometimes, I'm just doing what I can as best as I can.
That's right. So we all kind of have to, I feel understand that, have some acceptance of that, and realize that it's a really stressful, overwhelming time. We're doing more with your social resources, your financial resources, and a lot of us don't really know what the future holds from week to week. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of mourning going on as far as our old way of life or kind of what's going on. And when we're stressed, oftentimes communication maybe isn't as soft or as gentle or as strong as it used to be. And
that is so true.
Affects our relationships for sure.
Yes. Yeah. We want to be romantic. We want to have those special moments. We want to have our in-house date nights, but with kids, how do we do it, Kim? Like, how can we, find the time and the energy and the mindset, I guess, to connect, like romantically, emotionally with our spouses? Because by the end of the day, I don't know about other mamas, but at the end of the day, all I want to do is lie in my bed and collapse and sleep because I'm exhausted. And, sometimes we want to watch a movie or have a glass of wine or something, but it's not there sometimes. So what do we do?
So this is a really great question that I'm going to actually try and kind of fumble through, because I think that this is a really difficult time and a difficult way to figure out all of this and to navigate it. And when I'm hearing you talk, I'm hearing that there's this desire, right, to want to connect to my spouse, but I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I feel like I have nothing left at the end of the day.
Right.
And this is a pretty common theme that I hear from a lot of friends, clients, neighbors, family. Just even this part as far as like, how do we get through this? Not only how do we survive this, but how do we come out of this maintaining a healthy, connected relationship? So
right.
The number one thing that I can really suggest in there is communication, right? So this is a really difficult thing with everything that you're talking about, though, right?
Yes.
When we find time to communicate, that's what these date nights were oftentimes about.
Right.
So communication, though, right? We're not just wanting in that to also just talk about the weather or kind of the mundane things. It needs to be really meaningful. We want it to be bonding. We want it to be connective. And so in that, what we're trying to do, even if it's just small moments, we need to be talking to each other in meaningful ways. And that usually involves sharing feelings. Okay. So
that's the hardest part, right?
That's
sharing
kind of a
feelings.
tall order. Yeah, yes. That's a tall order. I realize that. So this can be done a couple of ways, right? I sometimes even suggest the ability to send a text where it's kind of a meaningful thing, where it's a prompt as far as, we get 5 minutes, can we talk about this? So we're kind of setting an intentional date. So that might be something to do. But talking about our feelings can be really difficult. And actually, it might be best kind of illustrated through one of the questions that we were sent.
Okay. About which one? Are we going to go with the phone first?
I think the phone actually might be a really good one to start with, because I think it's a really common one, and especially with all of us constantly being on our phones, the computer, social media, things like that. So I've actually been hearing this theme constantly from just a lot of people, that the phone is getting in the way of our intimacy in all regards. So I have a conversation and my spouse is on the phone. So I'm taking the question, and Wanda, do you have it in front of you? Can you read it? If you don't, that's okay. I can phrase it.
Yes, we have. No, wait, let me see. Yes, my spouse is constantly on the phone. How can I address this issue without sounding like I'm nagging?
Oh, yeah.
So, that's the question that you had prior, and then we put it on the banner, but then we had more questions and more suggestions. Like we had people saying, just turn off the phone, just, go there and turn it off, or just hide the phone from the person. But these, I feel, are kind of like quick fixes that might turn into another issue later on. Like if you just hide the phone, or because that can stress the other person if there's work involved, or if they're talking to family members or friends. We want the attention, but we want to get it the right way, I guess.
Sure. So I think what you're saying sounds perfectly reasonable to me. My guess would be that it's probably a little deeper than the phone, as it usually is. So if this were my client, and for all intents and purposes, if we could just say she, if I were kind of talking to her, that is one of the things I'd want to find out. So I'd really want to ask, tell me about the phone. What does the phone kind of mean to you? When your spouse is on the phone, when they don't need to be, when it's maybe family time, what's the message to you there? Okay, so then we start to kind of get underneath. The reason I'm doing this is because, you know how I talked about feelings a little bit ago?
Right.
A lot of us think that we communicate our feelings really well. And reality is we emote our feelings really well. But we don't necessarily talk about our feelings really
yes.
well. And so sometimes our ability to really even tune in for ourselves, to get to know what our own feelings are, can be really helpful in this process to actually be able to then communicate them, hand them over to our spouse in a way that feels soft, in a way that feels maybe not like blame or threatening.
Right.
So,
That's really hard to get to that point where you're not, you know, starting something and you're really putting out your feelings in a way that you're showing this is really how I'm feeling, and this is not, you know, me trying to ask you to do this or that or blame or anything like that, right? No blaming, no shaming. It's just opening your heart to your partner. Is that what you're saying?
right, I am. That's exactly what I'm saying. So when we can do that, when we can share in a way that actually is vulnerable, and then and talk from a very intentional sort of feelings way, what we oftentimes see there is our spouse is more able to kind of catch it. So if it's coming from this place very much of, I'm feeling this way, or this is kind of really what it says to me, but I'm sure that's likely not your intention.
Right.
But this is, so we call that a soft start. So, and then if our spouse is able to really catch that, then what we can have is this really beautiful, actually connective moment. So I usually suggest, starting with the feeling. So what does the cell phone mean to you? What is your spouse communicating to you? What's the story there when they're on the phone? What are they saying to you? So this comes up actually a lot in sessions.
I can imagine, yeah.
Oftentimes, the message is my spouse doesn't find me important, or they don't care, or I'm not interesting. And ooch, well, I can understand then why you don't like the cell phone to be out.
And I think when you, sorry,
No,
but I
please,
wanted
go
to say,
ahead.
like, when you bring it that way, that's your interpretation, but that's not really what he feels, and that's not what, I mean, you feel that way, but he is not doing that with that intention. It's just, you know, it's lack of communication, basically, right?
Sure, usually,
Yeah.
right. And so if you can pass that over, usually in a very feelings way. So, wow, that sounds, here's this person that's really important to you, and you want their attention, and it's feeling as though they don't really want to be in the same space as you, or you're not as important as the phone. That usually feels, you know, we'd ask, what does that feel like? Well, that feels really sad. That feels really lonely. And so then there's that place as far as, we're getting there. We're getting to that place as far as really being able to come up with the story that we can then pass over in a way that our spouse might be able to hear. Now, if we're doing that, and we think we're doing that really consistently, because I can already hear people out there who are watching this being like, that's what happens though. I share my feelings and it doesn't go anywhere, right?
Right.
So that happens. So if we're in this place as far as I'm trying to share my feelings, and it's not just from this place as far as tit for tat, because we do that when we argue, right?
Right.
Or blaming, where we're saying to our spouse, you always do this, you always have your phone, I already told you how important this is. Usually our spouse will put the phone down for a little while if we express that, and then we'll see over time they'll start to pick it kind of back up.
Right.
That's not usually coming from a place necessarily from trying to disregard your feelings. It's coming from this place as far as, you told me, but I didn't really feel it. So that's why feelings are also so important. If we can pass them over in a way that is really felt and experienced and shared, it usually becomes this really restorative moment where our spouse is actually, if they can hold it, if they can be in this space where they can actually hear it, it sinks in then. And then it usually is something that we can usually navigate a little bit, or navigate through a little bit better. And even have future conversations that are then really bonding. So
that makes so much sense, because we usually, you know, when we talk about something that's bothering us, we don't really know how to do it from a feelings point of view or perspective, or I don't know. We just put it out there in a way that is sometimes not the right way to say it, or to express, right, what we are actually feeling, because once it becomes a feeling for both, I guess it's a completely different approach to the conversation.
Yes, but it's really, really risky to do that. And I really understand kind of this place as far as when we're doing this, we really are risking a lot, because if it doesn't go well, if we feel rejected or dejected, it's going to be incredibly hurtful, and we're not going to want to do that again.
Right.
So it is this place too about almost kind of coming to the table, deciding how we're going to kind of have these conversations, really listening, trying to give our spouse or our partner the benefit of the doubt, and realizing that when they're coming to us from this place, they're wanting to connect.
Right.
They're not wanting to necessarily, place all the blame or say who's right, or they're just needing a moment where we're there, we're connecting, and it feels better.
Yes, I think from what you're saying, like whenever we reach out to someone we love, no matter how it is that we reach out, we're trying to make a change. Yeah. We're trying to make a positive change and improvement in the relationship. So just by the fact that we're trying, we're reaching out, we're opening our feelings in some way, I think that's already valuable right there, right?
I think so. I think so. And I think if we can get into the practice of hearing it through the ear of what our spouse is trying to say. So then there's that part as far as the communication. Sometimes the way that we communicate things is not necessarily the way that our partner kind of hears them. And that's not necessarily, I shouldn't say interpretation. That's just, we're all coming from this very different place. So it is really helpful if we can be really present. We can really let the person know in a really soft way, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is that what you're meaning? Even if we say, ouch, that one kind of stung.
Yes.
I don't know if you're meaning it that way. If we can start to kind of get into those patterns of kind of having those vulnerable moments. Now, I'm also telling you all of these tips that are also really hard sometimes to do under the current circumstances. So I think actually, I hadn't really thought of this, but I think it actually goes into that second question that we talked about.
Right.
Where we're trying to have maybe some connective moments.
Yes. How to do that, how to have this very like delicate conversation. I see it as delicate. Like for me personally, if I had to have this conversation, I would need to meditate before. I would have to write down some thoughts, that I have first, because it's a moment where you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position as well. So you're doing that, and then your kid comes in full of paint, or the other kid is like, potty time and bath time and sleep time, or someone, you're having this conversation and one of your kids comes into your room and you were trying to start talking about something. So for us mamas, for us parents, I think it's very hard to start something thinking, oh, I'm going to be interrupted, or, like, how do we do that? It's a very difficult question, I know, because not only we're living uncertain times, but life with kids is like uncertain every day. Right?
Absolutely. And you were sitting there talking, and I'm like, yes, right. How do we do that? Yeah. So my husband and I kind of have a stop-start rule, meaning like if we have to stop and it's seeming like somebody is starting to kind of get to this place where they're vulnerable, even if the other person who wasn't speaking doesn't really want to have that conversation, right? We just don't.
Right.
We have the rule that it's at least reconvened, or we talk about it again, and then that other person will kind of initiate or say, hey, I just want to check in and make sure we finished what we were talking about. And it can also be this place as far as the other person doesn't initiate, and it's this place as far as I didn't really feel like I got to finish that conversation, and I had time to think about it. And this is what I really wanted to get across.
That's a very mature way of dealing with this, because with small kids, and then you say, okay, let's pause and let's go back to this another time, and then going back to it. That's you got to a very mature point in your relationship to be able, I mean, coming from a counselor, marriage counselor, of course it has to be this way, but that's incredible. Like, that's incredible.
Thank you. I take all of that in, and I really, really appreciate that. And I will say this, we've been together a really long time, and we've worked really, really hard to get to that place. And I was going to say that came out of a lot of practice and a lot of failure, to be honest.
It is practice. Being together, being in a relationship it's work. It's a work in progress, I think, for the rest of your life, right? You have to work on the relationship.
I think so. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I am a couples counselor, but I always really admire and respect the couples that come in saying, you know, we feel like we're in a good place. We're not in dire straits. We're not, you know, thinking about leaving each other. But we're feeling like our communication has been really strained lately, or we're feeling like we're arguing more often than we should be. And we realize, I think it's also coming to this place as far as realizing sometimes we don't know how to fix what we don't know how to fix, right? We wouldn't be doing it if we knew another way to go about doing it. That felt comfortable and right and safe and secure. Because we really do need and want connection in our relationship. That's what makes that healthiest the healthiest relationships, excuse me. So
that's all we want. We want to feel loved. We want to connect with the people we love, and basically how to communicate that to each other. And, you know, there is love. There's always love. But sometimes the love is not really expressed in a way that the other one understands, and that's what the miscommunication really is, right? You can't express all that love you have for your significant other.
That's right. And also kind of really the ability sometimes to meet our spouse where they're at. So we definitely oftentimes have different conflict styles and communication styles, right? And this also takes some training too when we're in a relationship. We think that communication should just be fluid, and we communicated so well at the beginning of our relationship. We could talk about anything. Well, we're in a bubble, and then life starts to set in. So that's really normal. But it's also really normal to kind of have that fall a little bit more by the wayside. And so figuring out who the person is in conflict, I also think is really important. So do I tend to withdraw or stonewall in a fight? And generally that's an attachment style too. So that's as far as I'm needing a little space, or it feels like I can't really get anything right by the other person, or I'm failing them. So I'd rather do no harm than make it worse. Or am I more of kind of the blamer or the arguer or the always person? Well, that's really just a reach for connection too. That's that place as far as I'm really needing you here. And even though it sounds loud and angry, it's this place of trying to really provoke you to come meet me where I'm at because I'm feeling really vulnerable or scared, or I do need some attention and it doesn't feel like you want to give that to me. So being able to kind of see those two kind of positions for who they are and where they're at, I think can be also really powerful too. It's not this place of necessarily trying to hurt the other one or tell them that their position isn't valid. It's this place as far as, oh, you're showing me love even though I don't feel it in that moment. And then we can sometimes start to have a conversation from there too.
Right. So basically what it is when every day it's stressful for us, for parents. Every day we have work. The difference is that now the uncertainty that we had before with our jobs, with our daily tasks, we already had like a lot of insecurities and things like that. Now it's grown. It's much more intense, and it's much more present in our life. All this stress, and the whole world is going through an uncertain time. It's not just in our house. So I think that everything kind of takes a higher dimension. Right? The stress, the insecurities, and like the bills and everything that we don't know really what's going to happen. When are we going to go back to normal? When is this going to end? So I think now is the most important time for us to learn how to communicate with our spouses the best way possible, and have that time out, that space that we need, for each other during the day. Maybe we need 5 minutes, of alone time, and we can help each other with that, even though we have all the kids running around, or the 5 minutes that we can start having a conversation and maybe pause it and go back to it. So these are great, really great advice.
Yeah, thanks. Well, and I think in that you said something, and I want to go back to something so I'm kind of not leaving people hanging.
Mm-hmm.
There's this place too, as far as sometimes figuring out, thinking about where you guys best connect. So there are some people who connect best physically.
Okay.
Or spending time together, or having a ritual. So rituals are really, really good for families, and they're really good for couples. So it doesn't mean that you can't have conversations in front of your kids too. This is actually a really good role modeling.
That's a very good thing to think about, because sometimes we think we can't talk about anything in front of our kids, and of course using the appropriate language and talking about the right things. Yeah.
You know your kids the best, but talking about vulnerabilities is actually a really great thing to do in front of our kids. Actually too, I know everybody's always really afraid of fighting, and I'm not talking about full-blown fights that are really chaotic, but having arguments is not the most damaging thing. I'm going to have child psychologists reaching out to me, but as long as that there is repair and role modeling. So as long as it's not getting to this place where we are trashing each other and dogging each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming from the place as far as this is what I'm feeling. And then what we do with our kids, if that happens, it's okay. What you need to do is just really, not only are you repairing with your spouse in front of your children.
Right.
I'm really sorry, I was feeling some really big things. So then you're repairing in front of them, so they get to see this really amazing role model thing. Yeah. But then you talk to them about it.
And you're teaching your kids your values, how you want to have what is a healthy relationship, because we want our kids to grow up and have healthy relationships as well. Absolutely. So if we can set an example of what it is to have an open communication, talk about what's bothering us, talk about our feelings, and if we can teach our kids that through example from our own relationship with our spouses, I think that is a great learning experience for them to see, oh, mommy and daddy sometimes talk about their feelings. Mommy and daddy sometimes, don't agree with certain things. We don't have to agree with everything. We don't have to just, be smiling. Those, we in Brazil, we call it the commercial, couple, which is always like smiling and everything is wonderful and the dog never barks, he's always happy. No, our dogs bark, our cats fight and, knock down things, and it's okay. And a lot of things, make us crazy sometimes when the cats are fighting and the kids are crying and the dinner is burning and it's like,
that's great.
Right, it's chaotic.
And we're way more heightened and we're way more frustrated.
Right. And it's okay.
And it is okay.
Yeah.
Repair is the most important, one of the most important ingredients. I won't say it's the most important thing, but it's really, really important in secure, happy, healthy relationships. So are we repairing, and are we doing it in a way that feels really meaningful and in a way that makes us actually feel better? So are we not just putting a Band-Aid on it? We had a moment actually in my house a couple nights ago. We always do with our kids happy and sad moments.
That's a good one.
And this is something you can do at dinner. It's something we do it before bed. And it came to me, and I had to say a sad moment was, Lord knows, my husband and I probably got into a disagreement about something, or a miscommunication, whatever you want to call it. So I brought that one up because it was kind of in front of the kids. I think it was about watering or something. Who knows?
Okay.
And my son asked, well, why? And I was like, I don't know. And I was just really honest in a very age-appropriate way. But then it was a really great opportunity for us to talk about, too, when mommy gets upset, when I get upset, it doesn't mean that I don't love your dad. And also, too, when I get frustrated, I still love you, because we've had those moments, right? Where I don't want you to be mad at me because I think you don't love me. And so those are those moments. when you get frustrated, does that mean you don't love me? So I just kind of want to bring in the whole kind of family holistic point of view, because
Oh, it's so important. Yeah, I think that kids confuse that a lot. They think because my mom doesn't approve my behavior or what I'm doing, especially with teenagers. Now we're talking about little kids, but a lot of us have teenagers. I have teenagers too.
Absolutely.
So if my mom doesn't let me go out with my friends, that means that she's picking on me. She doesn't like me, or, no, we're trying to protect you, and we're trying to show you something that you're, like put limits, boundaries. Sometimes kids see it as lack of love, but that's another conversation. Kids parenting is another conversation that we can have.
Sure.
But I think what you said fits very well, because we're having a discussion with our spouse doesn't mean that there's no love. It means actually the opposite. It means that we love each other and we want to work things out, whatever our differences are right now. We want to make it work, and we want to make it work during this crazy crisis that the world is going through. And I think this was a great conversation. I know we answered not all of the questions we received, but most of them, because we would have to have a few hours, which we can't do on live. But we will keep this live 24 hours on our store, on Crunchy Mama Box Stories. And if you want to reach out to Kim, and her pages relate to repair, please do, because I know I reach out to her all the time and ask for help and advice. And she's been just amazing and helped me a lot, because it's not easy to be a parent. It's not easy to be a spouse, and it's not easy to work during these uncertain times. Even before it wasn't easy. So now it's even harder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We got to be in this together. So, Linda, thank you so much. And yeah,
thank you.
Let me really also say, if I didn't get to the questions, you're welcome, whomever, to reach out to me. Please do. I would love to. So,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so special. I'm sorry for the technical issues before, but we did it.
Yeah. I know, right?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching and for your questions.
Thanks, Wanda. Bye-bye.
Bye.